Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining me today as I am giving my reactions to reading The Lord of the Rings. This time around, I read chapter 12 from book 1 and I read chapters 1 and 2 from book 2. I apologize for taking so long to get this video out. Much as Gandalf, I was delayed. So just as a quick reminder to you all, if you've been enjoying these videos, please do like, subscribe, let me know in the comments if you have been following along, and let's not delay any further because we will not be idle. Let's hop in. Okay, so book 1, chapter 12, Fight to the Ford. It starts off really dense once again. And this time, as I was going through, because it seems like each time that I get to one of these stretches, I pick up something new and I start thinking about something new. And this time, I was thinking in terms of, well, maybe we have all of this description and we're really going into detail about it to impress upon the reader how much of a trek this actually was. I also started thinking that there are probably people out there who really love geography and the natural world more than I do. So they really are probably the target audience, and they probably are really digging on these parts. I feel as though my reticence on the subject is probably tied to when I was born. So perhaps if I was born further away from the digital revolution, I would be more in tune with all of this. Makes me think that Tolkien was probably writing from his interests and experiences when he was talking about the journey through the Trollshaws. There was a lot for me to love in this chapter, even with those long stretches of geographical description. I absolutely loved Sam's poem. Troll sat alone on his seat of stone and munched and mumbled on a bare old bone. For many a year he had gnawed it near, for meat was hard to come by, done by, gum by. In a cave in the hills he dwelt alone, and meat was hard to come by. Again, I get the feeling that the inclusion of the songs is really just hearkening back to a bygone era. It's kind of like that whole notion where I was talking about it before, where people who are further away from the digital revolution are probably more into the natural world, only this is more focused on the songs. The fact that Sam was able to tell such a polished and wonderful poem off the cuff, all while he is being portrayed as perhaps the lesser educated of the hobbits, it just really struck me. Can this be a safe space? I need a safe space for just a minute. I understand that what I'm about to say is going to stick with me because I'm saying it on the internet, but I'm trying to give you my reactions, and it wouldn't be true if I didn't. This chapter stirred me and made me deeply emotional. At the start, our baseline is peace, calm, relaxed. Frodo wakes up and finds that he is well again, if not actually still on the path to recovery. Then we kick that pebble that turns into a rock slide, that turns into an avalanche that we call nostalgia. It starts with the reunion with Gandalf, and then Sam, and then Merry, then Pippin, and then we start reintroducing characters like Glóin and Elrond and Glorfindel, and finally we see Bilbo again. The pacing of the writing allows for a really beautiful layering effect with each new element and character that's added back in, and it allows the feeling to build along with it. I've said several times that I'm jealous of those who were introduced to the books first. But this is actually one of those times where I'm feeling the exact opposite. I'm thankful that I was introduced by the films, by the MMO, by the card game, because now I have more meaning and expectation with the introduction of Arwen. I have pictures in my mind of what Glóin looks like. I have pictures of what Glorfindel looks like. Those connections that I have built from those other sources have really helped to enhance my experience with the books, at least for this stretch. I recall the wonder of seeing this wonderful world brought to life, the highs and the lows of questing with friends. Will we succeed? Will we fail? it was all just really, really touching and bringing up all of those past memories for me. I was actually, when I was reading this, I was having a physical reaction as well. For me, it was as a pit in my stomach. Not a pit of emptiness, but just kind of, it was a gentle tug, and I was feeling it all the way up into my throat, just feeling, it was almost like a longing, trying to recapture the feelings of old, trying to put everything into place with everything that I have already learned, and just thinking about things where I'm hoping for the future. The backdrop of Imladris felt very warm and inviting, and just in general, while I was reading, the feeling was that of being home. I judge films based on how deeply they make me feel whatever emotion that they're trying to get me to feel: sadness, fear, laughter. If I were to judge books by that same standard, The Lord of the Rings is quickly becoming one of the finest books I've ever read. I went back and I reread the chapter to see if I could further define what it was that was going on for me, and see if I had that same emotional reaction again. The second time, it wasn't as strong, but I still very much enjoyed it, and I did have more of that emotional reaction. I think it was when Frodo started talking to Glowin that things really started kicking into overdrive for me. I was having these vivid imaginations, and I was questioning things like, what is Dale like now that there have been all these dwarf improvements? The underground forests, the improvements to the aqueducts, which, that's all fine and dandy, but just in general, there's been a lot of time between then and now. So what has been happening in the rest of Middle-earth? And I think that wonder is probably the best word here, because I think that that's been the undercurrent for all that I've been experiencing and thinking about while reading this chapter. I think that, again, having that picture of Rivendell from the films really has helped, because it has a very dreamlike quality that I think allows me to have that sense of wonder and that sense of magic of it all. And moving on to the Council of Elrond, there were a couple things that really stood out to me. First off, as I'm often want to do, I'm going to compare to the film for a little bit. The way that things are presented in the novel, it seems much more structured, and it seems very streamlined, and perhaps even a little bit sterile. In the film, it's very chaotic, and everyone's talking over each other. They're trying to make sure that their own faction's interests are being taken into account, and there's even that open scorn between the elves and the dwarves, who just have this unbridled animosity toward each other. I do like both versions equally, and I really feel like each worked very well, and perhaps even the best possibly for their respective media. In the novel, we get much more backstory, and I'll tell you that having Gandalf tell more of what he was up to was a really great surprise for me. I never stopped to question, well, how did he get there? What was his timeline like? All of these things. It was always just, and now he's here at Frodo's bedside. So it was really great to hear that he was chasing them, trying to catch up. He was trying to foil the plans of the Nazgul. He was learning from Barlam and Butterbur what was going on. It was just really nice to have all of that information, and it made it seem like he didn't just show up out of thin air. Ashnag Durbatuluk, Ashnag Gimbatu, Ashnag Thrakatuluk Ag Burzum Ishi Krimpatu. That was weird. I love the inclusion of this. In the book, Gandalf says it very matter-of-factly, like he's just giving everyone else additional information. This in contrast to the film, where it seems like he just starts saying it in order to shock everyone and try to get them to snap out of their bickering. Again, Two different versions, but both working very well within their overall tone. I will say that for me, it seemed like it was a much greater event, much more significant event in the film. We still definitely had that same quote from Elrond saying, "Never before has someone dared utter those words in Imladris." But even still, maybe again it's me reading into it differently, but it seemed like a more significant event in the film. And lastly, I already talked about this a little bit, but just in general, so much great backstory, so much history that we were able to see. A lot of information here about the Second Age, Celebrimbor, and the making of the rings. It was all really nice to see. And it was also interesting to see what was actually going on with Saruman as well. He truly went off the deep end. He's no longer Saruman the White. He's Saruman the Many-Colored, which was very bizarre to me. But it also was interesting to see the differences in his approach. He, in the film, seems like he is trying to join up with Sauron. He's at the point where he understands that, hey, we can either join him or be destroyed. But in the book, it seems like he's not trying to join up, and he's very much trying to go alone and basically just take over everything on his own. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed the video. Again, please like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What did you think of these chapters? Did you have anywhere close to that sort of feeling, either with this group of chapters or with any of the ones that we've talked about already? Again, would really love to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you guys again in a few days.